It is true. They think everything about colonization was wrong. It wasn't. There were some terrible things, and there were some good things to come out of it. And that is about properly acknowledging your past.
Education.
Yes, completely.
Sanitation.
Transportation.
Yeah. There was so much that we brought to communities. But that is...
But you see, you're typical of what we're talking about.
No, I'm saying that colonization, the empire was wrong. It was wrong, full stop. That's, the things that Britain might have done.
But that's very much through your modern sensibilities, you might say that, because we wouldn't now routinely go into other countries.
It was a profoundly racist set of basically invasions of other people, where we subjugated people to our rule and sort of made them work for us. It was
completely made their countries work.
But imagine yourself in the shoes of a 13-year-old boy hearing you say that.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
What do they then? How do they then carry that through life?
Well,
in terms of who I am as a Brit.
But it's not about.
We had racist ancestors.
Say it,
but Bev.
But I'm saying that we hear much more of that than we do about the benefits of that period of time.
Well, because I don't think there were benefits. I think that we have to be completely...
Of course there were.
So benefits to us.
I don't think there were.
There were benefits to us.
A lot of those countries did not... Jonathan, those countries...
It absolutely does.
Those countries did not have money. They did not have the creativity. They did not have people in positions of power
of course they
to
had
do this.
creativity
No,
in
they
those
didn't.
countries. They just didn't live like Britain did. It doesn't make it worse. It just makes it different.
So it's okay to live without education, and it's okay to live without a transportation system, is it?
They did have education. It just wasn't our education system. They had language. It wasn't our language.
This cultural
medicine we brought to
precisely what we have.
Wait. First of all, did this lady just say some terrible things? These are the type of people that my grandfather called mongrels, nincompoops. If my grandfather saw this, he would say these are a bunch of nincompoops. When I saw this, I couldn't even believe that this was a discussion. This lady literally just said that there were some, in a very laissez-faire manner, there were some terrible things done during colonization. Wow. And these people are allowed to have a platform to say this nonsense? All right, let me just talk about some of the things that she mentioned. She said, first of all, she said there were some terrible things. Colonizing, brutally doing outrageous thing, taking advantage of a whole continent for decades is some terrible things. Outrageous things that were done to children, men, women, like destroying families during the time, oppressing people, was some terrible thing. Okay, let's just forget about all that. So let's talk about some of the things they said that Africa didn't have, which is why they came, right? She talks about there wasn't education. No, you dunce. There was education. Maybe it wasn't European style of education, but people were educated. How do you think people communicated? How do you think there were languages? How do you think that the Igbo alphabet existed? How do you think other alphabets existed within the country? There was some form of education. It just wasn't the British form of education. Because when the British came, they introduced the British system of education. But prior to that, if you didn't know, as old as you are, lady, there was education. She mentions there was no sanitation. People were giving birth. People were doing a whole bunch of things. People were treating wounds and all. There were like herbal remedies of doing things. Even up till today, people still use herbs. That was the form of sanitation and medication during that time. I think even now, the preferred mode of medication is the herbal means of treating people. Now, guaranteed, maybe it wasn't as fast, but to say that there wasn't any sanitation, even up to today, there are parts of Africa, there are tribes that practice their form of sanitation. I think the Himba tribe in Namibia, okay, let's talk about sanitation. They don't bath, they don't take their shower with water, they use a mud to do that. That is their form of sanitation that existed during that time. So to say that there wasn't any form of sanitation is daft. All right? Okay, let's go to transportation. What were horses and camels and oxen and all those means of transportation people were using? Of course, maybe you guys brought bicycles, and maybe, I guess the locomotive was, I don't know, but there was a means of people getting from point A to point B. People walked too. That was a means of transportation. I mean, people did these things during that time. So there was a means of transportation. It just wasn't the European standard or the European type of transportation. Now, to say there wasn't no money, well, people were traded with cowries. There was trade by barter, which is still practiced today with bride price. People don't use money all the time for bride price. It's still a mode of exchange, you can say monetarily. So there was money, or even more than the equivalent of what we consider as a legal tender these days. There were legal tenders in those days that what was legal within the confines of the continent. It wasn't European style of legal tender, but there was money. And then to say that there wasn't any creativity, this is the part that grinded my gear. Lady, are you daft? Some of the museums in Europe have African artifacts in them. I think up till today, there is still the back and forth about when are they going to bring back African arts. So for you to say there wasn't any, are you, even up till today, the music industry, the movie industry, every form of creativity that exists today, it's mostly people of African descent that dominates it. So for you to say there wasn't any creativity, are you stupid, daft, or you a dunce? Which one? Choose. Because whoever gave these people a mic, they should all like relinquish whatever it is that they're doing. Because this is crazy to listen to and to hear. What else did she talk about? She talked about the fact that, okay, I talked about, yes, modern medicine and, all that stuff. Then she talks about that, what would a 13-year-old you think? Well, you guys should be honest with your 13-year-old and tell them that your ancestors were crazy people. They did a lot of crazy things to people. They took advantage of people. They exploited people. They're still doing it up till today. So there is nothing good that came out of colonization. I mean, you can try and feed your guilty conscience by saying stuff, because there is neocolonialism today. The old contracts are still being enforced, even though they're still exploiting people today. So if it was whatever good, then you guys, people could have said, okay, let's relinquish all the power. But because it was a form of exploitation and taking advantage of people, that is why we still have it today. So, this was an outrageous comment, and I don't even okay, so the fact that they're saying that colonization didn't exist is just crazy to me. So no. Every point that they made to justify the great things that colonization did are all wrong, and everything that they're saying that the continent didn't have, it's all a lie. So this is crazy. Well, guys, let me know what you think, right? This is full chest. This crazy.